Hello there, YouTube. It is Allie Sounds. Allie Sounds. What should be my intro? Allie Sounds, Allie Sounds. I don't know. But today, I am going to read to you. Do you remember when you were little and your mom read to you? I'm going to do that, except I'm going to read you something cool. Well, that's up for interpretation. And you might not even know what I'm talking about. The book that I have here today is called, The Eye of the Eye by David R. Hawkins. Oh wait, I guess I should turn the pages slightly. Sorry. Let's just get you started. Okay. We're going to read The Presence. A hushed silence pervades the surroundings, and motion itself slows and becomes still. All things radiate forth an intense aliveness. Each is aware of every other. The luminous quality of the radiance is overwhelmingly divine in nature. It completely includes everything in its total oneness, so that all things are interconnected and in communication and harmony by means of awareness and by sharing the basic quality of the essence of existence itself. The presence is a continuum that completely occupies what has appeared previously to ordinary perception as vacant, empty space. That inner awareness is not something different from the self. It pervades the essence of everything. Awareness is aware of its own awareness and omnipresence. Existence and its expression as both form and formlessness is God and prevails equally in all objects, persons, plants, and animals. Everything is united by the divinity of existence. The pervasive essence includes everything without exception. The furnishings in the room are equal to rocks or plants in their importance or significance. Nothing is excluded from the allness, which is all-encompassing, total, complete, and lacking in nothing. All is equal value because the only real value is the divinity of existence. That which is the self is total and complete. It is equally present everywhere. There are no needs, desires, or lack. Neither imperfection nor discord is possible. And every object stands forth like a work of art, a piece of sculpture in perfect beauty and harmony. The holiness of all creation is reverence held by everything for everything else. All is imbued with a great splendor, and everything is silenced in awe and reverence. The revelation instills an infinite peace and stillness. A glance at the body reveals it to be the same as everything else. Unowned, unpossessed by an individual, equal to the furniture or other objects, and merely all a part of all that is. There is nothing personal about the body, and there is no identification with it. It moves about spontaneously, correctly executes its bodily functions, and effortlessly walks and breathes. It is self-propelled, and its actions are determined and activated by the presence. The body is merely an it, equal to any other thing in the room. So, this is a book written by David Hawkins, and I don't know if you've heard of him before, but he's really badass, and I've first started reading about him when I was 16. He has a book called I think it's Power versus Force, yes. And it's about kinesiology and consciousness, frequencies. It's very interesting. And it seems that later on in his life, he has had a form of enlightenment. In my life, in my limited experience in this body, I have had some very enlightened kinds of experiences. But a lot of people would probably think that I was psychotic. I mean, yeah. But that's okay, because not everybody gets to experience what we experience, right? We have our own individual, unique interpretation of the world, and everybody, has their own view of God or what that means. But I really believe that heaven can be here on earth, as in we can experience heaven. And I had this one peak experience where the entire room turned golden, and it was beautiful and radiant, and it was so real. I felt supreme holiness. It was the most beautiful experience of my entire being, because I remembered who I am in my heart. And so, anyway, I really enjoy reading books that have a higher frequency of thought, because if we can connect to the intention behind the person that wrote the words, that frequency, we can learn a lot. But I don't believe we need books necessarily. But anyway, but we do. I'm not going there. I'm a weirdo. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Sorry for that. When addressed by other persons, the body's voice responds appropriately, but what is heard in the discussion resonates at a higher level of meaning. The deeper and more profound meaning is revealed in every sentence. Okay, this is kind of funny because I was just talking about this with you guys right now, and I actually haven't read this part of the book at all. I've just started going through it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Coincidence? No. Okay. The deeper and more profound meaning is revealed in every sentence. All communication is now understood at a deeper level, almost as though each simple sounding question is actually an existential question and statement about mankind itself. On the surface, the wording sounds superficial, but on a deeper level, there are profound spiritual implications. Appropriate responses are given by the body, which everyone assumes is a me that they are talking to. This in itself is strange because there is no actual me associated with this body at all. The real self is invisible and has no locality. The body speaks and answers questions simultaneously in parallel ways on two levels at the same time. Stilled by the silence of the presence, the mind is silent and wordless. No images, concepts, or thoughts occur. There is no one to think them. With no person present, there is neither thinker nor doer. All is happening of itself as an aspect of the presence. In ordinary states of consciousness, sound prevails over a background of silence and replaces it. In contrast, in the presence, the opposite occurs. Although sound is perceptible, it is in the background. The silence prevails so that the silence is actually not interrupted or displaced by the sound. Nothing disturbs the stillness or interferes with its peace. Although movement occurs, it does not disturb the motionless stillness which is beyond, yet inclusive of, motion. Everything appears to move as though in slow motion because time is absent. There is only a continuous state of now. There are neither events nor happenings because all starts and stops, all beginnings and endings, occur only in the dualistic consciousness of an observer. In their absence, there is no succession of events to be described or explained. Instead of thinkingness, there is self-revealing knowingness that imparts complete understanding and is self-explanatory by its self-effulgent essence. It is as though everything speaks silently and presents itself in its entirety in the absolute beauty of its perfection. In doing so, it manifests its glory and reveals its intrinsic divinity. The suffusion of the presence throughout the totality and existence of all that exists is exquisite in its gentleness, and its touch is like a meltingness. The inner self is its very core. In the ordinary world, only the surfaces of things can be touched, but in the presence, it is the innermost essence of everything that is interspersed with every other thing. This touch, which is the hand of God in its soft gentleness, is at the same time an expression in the abode of infinite power. In its contact with the inner essence of everything, one is aware that the presence is being felt by every other thing, object, or person. The power of this gentleness is unlimited, and because it is total and all-present, no opposition is possible. It pervades all that is, and out of its power arises existence itself, which is both created by power and at the same time held together by it. That power is an intrinsic quality of the presence, and its presence is the essence of existence itself. It is equally present in all objects. There is no emptiness anywhere, as the presence fills all of space and the objects in it. Every leaf knows how it is being experienced by everything else, and shares in the joy of the divine presence. All things are in a state of silent rejoicing, that their consciousness is an experience of divinity. Unique to all things is a still ever-present gratitude that it has been granted the gift of experiencing the presence of God. This gratitude is the form in which worship is expressed. All that is created and has existence shares in reflecting the glory of God. Now, when we speak of God in this text, we're not speaking of a particular interpretation of a religious form of what society may perceive as God. This is talking about God without your interpretation, but reality is subjective. So it's let's just say I'm not talking about the religious kind of God, but I am also talking about that God because we're all talking about the same thing. So when you hear the word God, you might have certain things that come up in you because you might have an association with that particular word. But what I'm saying is that when we speak of God here, we speak of the limitless potential that is you. That is you. You are God. And I don't mean it in an ego credit sense. I mean it in the divine grace sense. And this isn't me preaching anyway. You can be atheist. I don't care what you believe. I just want everyone to be happy and be at peace. But I hope that if you enjoy this, that you're enjoying it. And if it's not your thing, that's cool. Okay, let me continue. All things are in a state of silent rejoicing, that their consciousness is an experience of divinity. Sorry, I already read that. Human experience has taken on a whole new aura. The one self shines forth through everyone's eyes. A radiance shines forth from everyone's face. Everyone is equally beautiful. Most difficult to describe is the interaction among people that moves on to a different level of communication. There is obvious love among everyone. Their speech, however, has changed so that all conversation has become loving and peaceful. The meaning of the words that are heard is not the same as others hear. It is as though there are two different levels of consciousness going on, coming out of the same scenario of form and movement. Two different scripts are being spoken via the same words. The meanings of words themselves have been transformed onto a different plane by the higher selves of the people involved with each other, and the communication of understanding is on a higher level. At the same time, it is clear that the lower selves of the people are unaware of the communication simultaneously going on with their higher selves. People are as though hypnotized into believing the reality of the ordinary selves, which is merely the unwitting action out of scenarios or roles as in a movie. By ignoring the lesser selves, the higher selves address each other directly, and the person's ordinary selves appear to be unaware of this ongoing higher level of conversation. At the same time, people are sensing intuitively that something different from the ordinary is happening. The conscious presence of the self creates an energy field, which people find extremely pleasurable. It is this energy field which performs miraculous and brings occurrences into harmony, along with the sense of peace to all who experience it. So, I totally understand exactly what is being written because I've experienced this. So, there was this boy that I met in my meditation group, and we started hanging out and meditating together. And so, interesting things would happen when we did. One time, he was in my bedroom, and I looked in his eyes, and he looked in mine, and we were it was like we were in another reality, but we were here. And I was shocked because what I saw was this pink, bright aura around him, and it was very real. It wasn't like I just made it up in my mind or whatever. It was there, and I freaked out. I jumped up, and I said, "Oh my gosh, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are you experiencing what I'm experiencing?" And he was. It was very interesting. And he and I have had actual telepathic conversations together, word for word. I didn't even know that that was possible. I mean, I've always believed that anything is possible, and maybe that's why it happened. But, it was really interesting, and we still communicate. I know when he's thinking about me sometimes. We don't hang out as much, but when we do, we channel interesting things like this and talk about it. But if you tell just some other person who hasn't had these kind of experiences some of the things that have happened in my direct experience, people will just think you're psychotic or crazy. But anyway, you don't have to believe me. I really don't need validation. You can think that I'm crazy, and that's totally fine with me because you're probably right, and I prefer life this way, I guess. So anyway, I'll read a couple more paragraphs, and yeah, this is just the beginning. Visitors who had traveled many miles to ask questions suddenly knew in the presence of that aura the answers which came about through an inner understanding that made the original question irrelevant. This occurred because the presence recontextualized the illusion of a problem and thus caused it to disappear. I could just talk a lot about these things right now. So, I read on a quote not long ago about how Einstein said that he just stayed with questions longer. Einstein was a very influential person, as you know. I definitely believe that Einstein tapped into the supermind for sure, as far as consciousness levels. I was listening to Bach. Bach. If you don't know Bach, you should look up Bach, because it's a very beautiful piano ensemble that was created back in the day. And when I listened to Bach, I was like in a space of supreme creativity. And I just knew that Einstein listened to Bach. Like, I just knew it. It wasn't like it wasn't intuition, but it was a very deep intuition. And I looked it up, and Einstein did listen to Bach. And Einstein said actually that a lot of his revelations were guided by intuition itself, and that if he weren't a mathematician, that he would have been a musician. So the power of sound is amazing, and if you can connect to the sound and vibrations and the frequencies of music, you can connect to higher planes of consciousness too. So anyway, sorry I keep on backtracking. This is just things that I'm interested in, because I am a pretty deep person, but I'm also really weird and goofy, and I think that at this point in my life, I'm just understanding how to really be comfortable being myself, because Eleanor Roosevelt says that do what you love because you'll be criticized anyway, and she is so effing right. So I'll read a couple more paragraphs. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, so the body continued in its operation and reflected the intentions transmitted through consciousness. The continuance of the body was not of any great interest, and it was clear that the body is actually the property of the universe. The bodies and objects in the world reflect endless variation and are without imperfection. Nothing is better or worse than anything else, nor is it of different value or significance. The quality of perfect self-identity defines the intrinsic worth of all that exists. As equal expressions of innate divinity. Inasmuch as relationship is a concept of dualistic mental observation, in reality there are no relationships. Everything merely is and exhibits the beingness of existence. Similarly, without the interposition of a functioning observer, with its innate categorization of thought, there is neither change nor movement to be explained or described. Each thing is merely evolving as an expression of its divine essence. Okay, so let's breathe together, because why not? Let's take a deep breath in and out. Inhale love and positivity, and exhale any negative tension, anything that's been bothering you for today, anything that you would like to let go and surrender to the divine, to the universe. Every breath that you breathe in is love all the time. All the time. It's an illusion if you think that anything is but love. It's an illusion to think that you are anything but love. You are joy, you are beauty, you are light, you are serenity. You can make the world a better place by just learning how to yourself, learning how to love yourself in your own skin, knowing and finding peace in your aloneness, not loneliness, because you're not alone. We're all in this together. And I hope that we can have more light so that we can share that in the world. And sometimes the way that you get to light is by experiencing a lot of darkness. That's how it happened for me. So, yeah, stay in there, hang in there. It gets better. In the darkest times of our lives, we are tested to know our strength. I know, for instance, that I am a much stronger person than I could have ever thought possible if I wouldn't have gone through the trials and tribulations of my life. So it's sort of the dark night of the soul, so to speak. But it helps us have compassion for other people. And so if you're going through a hard time right now, hang in there. It gets better. It really does. I know you're probably tired of people telling you that, but it really does. You just have to believe. You have to try. You have to dig something so deep out of you that you didn't even know was there, and bring it forth and share it with the world. Okay, guys. Thank you for being here with Allie Sounds. And I hope that you liked my reading session. I'm trying to experiment and see what we should